But if there's another fighter who you want to keep your eye on, it's definitely Karine Silva, brother. I mean, listen, another fighter, 100% finish rate, and she gets the finish against Poliano Botelho in her UFC debut. What makes this more important is we talked about it. Poliano Botelho said it herself. She says, I am fighting for my job going into this fight. And you get handled and submitted in the first round. So, AJ, let's talk about that. Sometimes back against the wall can be a gift, and sometimes back against the wall can be a curse. Do you think this was a curse for Poliana Botelho in this fight, given that she looked great, bro? Like, she looked like if that sequence didn't happen where she got set up for the Darce, she could have won a points battle had she was able to stick her range and, you know, kind of inflict her will. She looked game, but it just, once again, wasn't her night. So what do you make of that entire back against the wall situation?
Man, she looked very game, but I think what did her in the worst was her herself confirming to the bosses, if I don't win this one, you have all my permission to cut me. Like, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to go out there and say, I'm fighting for my job on this one. You say like, you know, like, oh no, you win or lose, I still have many a fight left. Like, don't worry about that. Don't even give the UFC brass that idea that you were even feeling the heat that you might get cut, because then you're just putting it out there, you know? Yeah. I'm not a big fan of saying, you know, this is the one I'm putting my stake in, because it's a 50-50 shot. Next thing you know, you're, you know, 5 seconds away from ending round one, getting saved by the bell. But in your mind, man, all you're seeing is this dark circle just growing big or smaller and smaller, and it's gasping for breath. Rough loss, man, because Poliano Botelho was looking great. I was excited because I was like, oh, a point battle, like hell yeah. And we talked about in the pre-show that Silva was going to be the bigger of the fighters. Botelho walks in and she looks stout, bro. She looked thick. She was taller. She was bigger. I was feeling good. I was like, this is going to be a nice win. And then she gets tapped out. So rough loss, not her day. But Karine Silva, man, all compliments to Silva, because I didn't see this coming at all, man. This is one of those fighters, just like an Almeida, you need to watch out for her, because she's going to be banging, man. And she fights with Tyler Santos. I forgot.
Yep.
The fact that she trains with Tyler Santos, man, it's going to be very entertaining to watch.
But that was all kind of part why I was like, you have to pick Karine Silva to win this fight. I just thought that Poliana Botelho, believe it or not, man, people going into this fight, they're like, this is a low level women's fight. Like, disregard this fight. I'm like, you guys are tripping. Have you watched Karine Silva do her thing? Have you watched her between strawweight, flyweight, and bantamweight, man? Have you seen the ability she has in terms of taking the fight to the ground and inflicting her will? And that's what she did in this fight. But for Poliana Botelho, I think the problem is, if you're a knockout artist, which clearly she is if you look at her resume, right? If your bread and butter is, I have to get people out of there on the feet, then I think that you need to be going to an extreme couture. You need to be going to whatever wrestler camp and just work on sprawls all day long, takedown defense. Your hands are already there, but let's hone in on the other parts, right? Let's not allow a Silva to be able to get close to us and take us down, to be able to inflict the will. But I will say, if there's one thing about Karine Silva, she locked in that Darce picture perfect textbook, man. She folded Botelho over herself. There's no room to breathe. These fighters aren't tapping because they're quitters and because there's no will to win in them. They're tapping because you've distorted their body to a position to where literally there is no air going to the brain. Next thing you know, you're about to fall asleep. It was actually interesting, AJ, because I was rewatching really quickly, and this doesn't have much to do with it, but Corey Sandhagen versus Aljamain Sterling. And you remember Aljo put the back on him, choked him out. Corey Sandhagen actually went out in that fight, but still like subconsciously tapped, right? So like you're going to sleep. You're literally asleep, but your body is like muscle memory, just like tapping just to try to save you, man. Those are the extents that your body's willing to go. So like I said, I don't want to look at a Poliana Botelho or anyone to look at her and be, oh, look at, she just came in there and quit. No, man. Silva put that fucking Darce on her, and that was just a beautiful thing to see. So huge win for the Brazilian, even though they're both Brazilians. But last thing on this one, what do you make, man? They've been making a lot of Brazil versus Brazil matchups recently, and I feel like that used to be reserved for Brazil cards, but given the state of, this is UFC Vegas 56, man, 56 events in Vegas just for fight nights, it looks like they're pitting them up against each other. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I think it's just another depth issue. It's just all the Brazilians like to scrap, and then they're all down either training in Vegas or in Florida, so it's kind of they're there.
All right, brother. Last thing is Botelho cut after this fight?
I mean, she said it. I think she has to be cut. You know, that's the unfortunate way about it. You say you're fighting for your job and you lose. Well, I guess your job's gone.
She kind of manifested it herself, right? So, yeah, big win by Karine Silva.